Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Katy Rey, where we interview ordinary people living extraordinary lives. I'm a fierce leader in the community, empowering you to be exactly who you are and live life authentically. Jennifer Gilman has joined the show today, which I'm super excited about. We were met through a friend and then hit it off right away after a Zoom call. So it's over now. We're friends forever. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Katy.
Do some of your clients call you Coach Jen?
Yeah, Coach Jen or Coach Jennifer, but never call me Jenny.
I wasn't going to. I actually never go to the name Jenny when I see a Jennifer, but I love that you pointed it out.
Yeah.
Now maybe I'll say, why? Wait, let's dig into that. Why are we not calling you Jenny?
Yeah. I know. It's just when I was young, I was Jenny, and I don't know what it is about this fierceness of me. Like I'm a Jennifer or I'm a Jen, but I can't pinpoint it.
I love it. So Katy's short for Catherine, and people are always like, "Do people call you Catherine?" I'm like, "No, not really." But when they do, I'm always like, "Thank you." I always feel like, "Thank you so much."
Like, so grown up.
But I that's crazy. Do people sometimes see your name and just automatically try to call you Jenny?
Sometimes
wow.
They do. And honestly, if family or people I grew up with, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I haven't lived there since I left after high school. Mm-hmm. But people will still call me from there, and I'm okay with that. So I don't know if it's like
they knew you as a kid. Like now, you are Jennifer. All right, this is Jennifer
or Jen.
Real or Jen. All right. Well, Coach Jen is here. And just tell us about, everyone loves this question. Who are you? If I met you on the street, I ran into you and I was just like, who are you?
Yeah.
What comes to mind? Who are you?
Yeah. I would say I'm that person who loves all things holistic and trying to always work on my own health to be as healthy as I can be. But I like to have fun with people, have deep conversations. And I don't really have a lot of room for, I have acquaintances, but when I'm around people and it's a very surface level conversation, I'm the first person to probably walk up and leave.
Yeah, I feel you. Like, what's your job? Yeah. What do you? It's like, no, I want to get deep. I love that. And there was this hilarious video a friend sent me, and it was like first time meeting this person. And it was like, what's your trauma? We just get in it. And I was like, that was a great time.
Yeah,
I love that. And what sparked your holistic journey? What made you realize this is what I want to do? This is how I want. I want to educate. What did that?
Great question, because I didn't grow up holistic at all. I was brought up in a home. It was all conventional medicine. You go to the doctor knows all, that kind of thing. But I was sick as a kid. I used to get colds and flus all the time. And then I go away to college, you know what happens. It's like, I am so not taking care of myself. I got mono, like a lot of people, but, ended up in the hospital at one point because I didn't have enough hydration in me. But I was all wrapped around my immune system. So I get out of college and I was in the hospitality industry and I started traveling a little bit. And I'm like, I got to get a handle on this. And the doctors are really, unfortunately at that time, or the ones that I had, were not giving me answers that were working. So that's when I dove into learning myself. And I didn't think it was going to become a career. I truly didn't. I was in that other industry, which was awesome, for 26 years. I was truly working on myself and patching myself up. And I'd have these off conversations with people and I'd learn more. I'm like, oh, you're into herbal medicine and holistic stuff too. Tell me what you do,
Yeah.
And I would go to herbal workshops on the weekends and all this kind of stuff. But then I just had a calling, and I truly call it that because I really, I had a deep calling of you're meant to do something different. So I started telling friends that I worked with and just friends that are surrounded by, I said, I think I'm supposed to switch careers. And they're like, what are you talking about? You love your job. And I'm like, I do like my job, but there's something I'm being compelled to move into. So I started this Blue Sky journal. I started writing all the things that I love to do because I had no idea what it was going to be. And the last entry was herbalist. And I just decided one day, I'm like, I'm going to become an herbalist. So I decided to choose a school and went into a school that offered a 3-year master's of herbology program.
So cool.
And pivoted.
Pivot.
Yeah, pivot. And it was scary.
Was it exciting? Okay, so anybody's bringing up school again for me. I'm like, oh my gosh. But like, was it like, oh, I don't want to do school again? Or were you like, I'm ready?
I was ready. I was really
cool.
ready. Something about like all of a sudden finding after a couple of years of figuring out like what is it I want to do. And I almost opened a food co-op, I was kind of all over the place. Once I decided herbalist, I remember coming home from a workshop and I said to my husband, and I was newly remarried, I'm like, I'm going to become an herbalist. He's like, and, he knew that here I had a pretty very, good job, and I had a lot of perks to it and all of that, but I was ready. I was really ready, Katie. Was it scary? Of course, 100%. So I had a 2-year, dual role as I started school, started working on what the company that I started was the Herbal Cabinet, which is my LLC, and had 2 years overlap of still working. And my goal was to actually stop in January 2015, but my mom passed away in early 2014. And I just had a lot more stress on me. And so finally it was June 14. I'm like, it's time for me to say goodbye to this other career and go full in. So
yeah, it was that moment of like, I have to fulfill myself now. So tell us about your journey. How awesome has it been?
It's been great, scary, all the emotions you can imagine, which I never had with my other career. The other career was stable. And I used to tell people like, I could never be an entrepreneur. I would look at them with glossy eyes of like, how do you do that? I don't know how I can handle not having a paycheck every week.
Yeah.
Right?
And what were you doing though in hospital? Like, what was it that you were doing?
I was a global account director in the meetings industry. So I worked for Hyatt Hotels and Resorts globally.
Wow.
And I would be like, so I really dove into meetings as an industry and had a certification in that as well. But I also had an MBA in international business and my bachelor's degree in hospitality management. So I was full into that career. But what I would do is I'd work with companies or organizations that booked meetings, and I would try to get the market share in Hyatt. I didn't care whether it was the Hyatt in Shanghai or the Hyatt in Atlanta, but that's what I would do. So I'd build these relationships with clientele.
Traveling a lot?
Yeah, traveling a good deal. But it was the relationships that I really enjoyed that carried over into what I do now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Your meetings were probably so different with the relationships you build, not surface level. Did you walk out of any meetings?
No, but I wanted to, and I had one client that I didn't understand what it was at first, but I realized it was bullying, and that term was becoming more prevalent, but not in the adult workplace world. And so I remember talking to my boss. I'm like, I am definitely being bullied by this client. I need a way out. I don't know what to do. So that was probably my hardest time. But most of my clients were really wonderful because they had high burnout jobs. So I feel like I felt like I wanted to help them in other ways I didn't realize. Now I know. Now I see things. I'm like, I think the seeds were being planted then of being 100% passionate for these people.
Well, and your experience just being in that high stress atmosphere is super important for what you do now. Because you have to know, right? Sometimes it's not feasible for me to shut off. Like, how can I get around this? It's really important. That's why I always feel like when I'm coaching people, I had a sales team. I get it. You got to hit a number. You have to, we get it. So I think that's really powerful. So what are some of your goals for society in general, holistically, holistic goals for us? Because I've recently been more understanding natural routes and trying to teach the kids stuff instead of I'm trying to teach them balance and moderation and not in a way where you're triggered. Because as a kid, I did stress eat. And as a kid, I don't want them to think food's the enemy, but I want them to know what nourishes our body. So what's your goals for your clients or just people in general?
Yeah, my vision and bigger vision in general is really to play a big role in this pandemic of chronic disease, of actually lowering this. and helping people, not just with nutrition, but lifestyle changes. And I know that's a huge category, but there's so much emphasis on nutrition, and then people feel more shame, right? I can't do it the way that nutritionist rolled out the plan, so I must be a failure. It's like there's so much shame on that, but that's why I chose functional medicine, health coaching, after going through other coaching schools. Is I realized, we actually need to get to the root cause. And the root cause could be the relationships you have with yourself and others, the mindset, the mind chatter, the gremlins, the narrative you have in your head. There's a lot to that part of it actually that spills over into then what you're dealing with. So that's what we've really gotten into. And me and my coaches, we've all studied positive psychology as part of our functional medicine.
Cool.
So that's a big deal. So back to my vision is showing people that in little ways you can have successes that become changes for life. But we've got to look at little small steps and don't try to do something you hate. If somebody says like, I have to go to the gym. No, you don't. You can use body weight training. You can do resistance band.
Yeah.
You could do pickleball, volleyball.
Yeah.
What do you actually want to do? I had one woman, she was like, I always wanted to do the country line dancing. And I'm like, what's holding you back?
Yeah, go do it.
I don't know. She said, even my friends, I guess, feeling like a fool or whatever. I said, well, how about you find some place where they have the lessons first, right? And so now here we are years later, she's country line dancing regularly for exercise.
I love that. And she loves it.
Yes, she loves it and keeps it up. And so I think that's the big thing is helping people explore within.
Yeah.
Because these little things that can actually bring joy and fulfillment now is part of your healthy lifestyle.
That's so important for coaches, right? You have to see the whole thing. So you have a team of coaches that work off your framework.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd like to grow a little bit bigger. I always want to be a boutique health and wellness company. But we obviously, our foundation is one-to-one coaching, but we also offer corporate wellness and I do speaking as well. So it's kind of like the realm of things. But
cool.
I only hire functional medicine certified health coaches because of the way they've been trained.
It's just different terminology. It's different the way you look at it. And and with functional medicine, you do take into account when people you need medication for certain things. And
absolutely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, like conventional medicine, I always say is the medicine of what, what diagnosis, what do you have, what's going on, and then let's treat it, right? Functional medicine is the medicine of why. Why did this happen to begin with, and actually going to the root cause. So it tends to be great for the people with chronic illnesses, high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid issues, autoimmune disease, something, chronic migraines, what's been going on for a long time, skin issues, gut health issues. That's where functional medicine thrives. And that's why my vision is attached to it. It's like, I want to help people with these chronic issues and bring this number down, because right now it's rampant and it's getting worse. We're seeing young kids have type 2 diabetes. There's a problem.
Yeah. And then just the fact of feeling better, right?
Yeah.
You can tell the days that you've had too much sugar, you've had too much, like things like that. So in your life, what has changed, like for you now that you are teaching others to do it? What's like a big drastic change that you've made over the years?
Yeah. And I continue to. So one thing I love about being this industry, it allows me to continue to work on my health because I have burnt out. I hit rock bottom. I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's been in remission for a few years now. So these are things personally. So that immune system issue, I've had thyroid issues for a long time and it went undiagnosed. And that happens a lot, especially with women. But men now are getting more and more men are actually being diagnosed with Hashimoto's as well. So it's like this undiagnosed thing because in the past, the right tests weren't being done. Now, it's more prevalent that the tests are being done quicker, but people will go in with various symptoms and some doctors are saying, oh, well, let's just put you on birth control and see if it helps, or put you on anti-anxiety medication or whatever it is for some of these symptoms that are actually thyroid related.
And the thyroid is so important. I've learned that recently too. So it's like you have clients all different ages, all different backgrounds.
Absolutely.
And you probably learn from them, of course, just being with them. But for men and women, do you find it harder for men to come up and be like, hey, I want to change my health habits more than women? Like, how has that played a part too?
There's been a drastic change there with men, which has been such a pleasure to be part of this now. So in the past, I started, once I moved over to coaching in 2019, I'm always an herbalist, right? So, I mean, I'm drinking Tulsi and ashwagandha tea. So, I have herbs in my life and I help others with herbs. But I started coaching fully because I felt like that's really the best way I can make an impact on the totality of their lives, right? Mm-hmm. So I started in 2019. And oh my gosh, what was your question? I just lost my train.
For men, you said it's been a pleasure of men.
Thank you.
You're like, wait a second, what are we talking about? Yeah, we were talking about, and you said when you started to now, so you're getting into
that. I was helping mostly women. And when I say mostly women, it was like 95%.
You had one man that you were probably helping.
And then last year, all of a sudden, 29% of the people we helped were men. I'm like, cool. What? Starting this year, it's about 50-50.
So cool.
So I look at, the way we coach men is different because everyone's different. We meet them where they're at, right? But men are coming to us very completely open and ready to tackle things. They're just so ready. And I attribute that to all of our male mentors out there and the podcasts and like the Ben Grinfields of the world and the Dr. Mark Hyman, all these people have amazing podcasts on longevity of life. So that whole category now, they're listening to these things at the gym. They're getting more knowledgeable about how they want to live the rest of their life and realizing I better make some changes now.
Yeah.
So I kind of attribute it to that as there's more information out there and there are people that they're leaning on and listening to. Because when they come to me, they already tell me their favorite people they follow on podcasts.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Because I think it's really important. Like we're all having the conversations together. Understand? I've been in like women in leadership, but I'm like men need to be in the room. Like we all need to be working together. Yeah. It's really important. So awesome. What are some goals you have for this year? I know you want to get a few more coaches or on your team, but other big things you're working on. And second question in one, what are some of your go-tos on like a really hard day or a busy day? Or like, is it a book? Is it a quote? Is it a music? Tell us all the things.
I think with goals is really expanding the corporate wellness of, I really studied it for about 8 months to see what was already out there in the health and wellness arena and trying to make sure I'm not doing what some of the big box companies are doing, really making it that curated program for them. So really getting out in front of these companies that they're part of their core values are already health and wellness and B Corp certified, Mm-hmm. B Corp companies, they have to meet a certain health and wellness metrics. But the people who are forward thinking like that, I want to be more in front of them because I know I can help them make an impact. Unfortunately, there are a lot of companies that are still not there. And I just, so my goal is really to be swimming in the right pond, fishing in the right pond of finding those companies because they're the ones that are going to be able to retain the talent that they have and attract, the talent acquisition of people really wanting to stay because they're offering such, a diverse, variety of different things for their well-being, their total well-being that they care. So that's who I want to align myself with. And then the other thing we're rolling out now is working with nutrigenomics on the DNA testing to be able to just help people like through their DNA and methylation now. Methylation's a really big part of it. Mm-hmm. They added that testing on, and that's what made the difference of me deciding to kind of align with that company to be able to help clients figure out their blueprint for eating with the methylation factors included. Because before I never jumped on because it was just pure DNA without the methylation. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit deep topic, but the methylation part of it is a game changer. So that I want to get through that certification and so that we can offer it to our clients because people
let me know when you get through it. I've been actually researching about it because I want to do it. but I would love to go through like a trusted source like you. That's fantastic.
So those are the goals.
They're awesome. What are some of your go-tos? As a coach, someone who pours into people all day, like what's something you do?
Yeah, go-tos for myself, right? My own self-care.
Oh yeah.
So back in 2017, I did burn out. It was, about 5 years into my being an entrepreneur. And I tell this story because I teach other corporate, employees about this, of how to prevent it. And the big thing for me was I was so passionate about what I was doing, I couldn't turn it off. So through that, my biggest win was actually learning self-care techniques of being able to have a morning routine and an evening routine and taking pauses, a moment to heal in the middle of the day, even if it's just 3 breaths. Mm-hmm. So when I get overwhelmed and realize right away, oh, my schedule has been a little too tight lately, I immediately go into my calendar right away and say, where can I actually block out spaces? And I use that word block. I go in and I put blocks on my calendar because I realized I've pushed it too close, one thing back to back, back to back, back to back. So that's one of my go-tos is I'll immediately do that. If I can schedule a half day or a full day off for myself, I'll do it, making sure I'm not putting too much on the weekends. I usually just work Monday through Friday. But the other thing is just, am I connected enough with people? Have I been out to lunch with a friend? Have I been out for coffee with a friend? Because that social connection and just catching up has a lot to do with our mental health, So that's the second thing, that I'll do. And then the third check is like, have I been eating well and have I been exercising enough? Just assessing, have I been doing those things that I know work? But yeah, the first really is check the calendar, check in with friends, and then the other things.
How did you know the calendar blocking would work for you? Did you try different things first and then you saw that this is working? Cool.
Well, and I burned out and I was like, I'm realizing I'm putting too much in my day with no spacing in between. So I realized, I need to actually put in some time. And for me, I needed it blocked out so that no one can book in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for me, visually, for me to block it out, which I'll be really honest here, is in the beginning, it was hard. So what would I do? I'd be like, well, it says block. I mean, I'll just fit this in. So I would take the block out of the calendar. So honestly, it was about 5 months of like a lot of this self-care stuff. It was a solid 5 months of working hard on these kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
Have wins, and then I'd slide back, have wins, slide back, have wins, slide back. Now I'm more in that was years ago.
You've grown and you're aware.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so quickly aware now. So I'll put it in place, but I'm wired to just keep going.
Yeah. And you know that about yourself,
yes,
right? It's just like learning that. I love that you do that. I love that you had a little trouble implementing it at first because it's real life. Yeah. Even morning routines, right? I'm big on my morning routine, but not everybody can do it. Sometimes they need a little bit longer to start. So, and it's like just understanding yourself is so important. Okay. Where can we find Coach Jennifer / Coach Jen? Don't ever call her Jenny. Where can we find you? Where can we find your company?
I love that. Really, everything's on New Way Health Coach. So newwayhealthcoach.com. My Instagram is New Way Health Coach. My Facebook is that. On LinkedIn, I'm actually Jennifer Gilman. So you'll find me there. All the platforms it's mostly New Way Health Coach, but yeah, you can always, message me, and I'd love to hear from anyone if they're, listening to this and resonating and just want to chat more, reach out to me.
And you take clients anywhere because you can virtually close.
Well, I should say across the U.S. right now with contracting and legal agreements, everything in the United States.
Okay. Awesome. We're global too. So, you never know. Right, with the trillion listeners for today. But you can find Jennifer at Not a Great Whisperer Podcast, KatyRey.com, at The Real K Ray. You're amazing. I'm so glad we connected. I can't wait to connect again, especially after your one certification, so you can help me out. But thank you for joining today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katy.